Greetings, Kerbalnauts. Welcome back to Kerbal Space Program 2, a second episode. In the last episode, we had a look at the training center. In this episode, we're due to go to the Mun. Off camera, I built myself a little probe, a communication satellite, just to see if I still had it, if I still understood the mechanics of building. Managed to get her into fairly high orbit over Kerbin, with just enough Delta V to get her home again if I need to, although she won't survive. So we'll do a test of the engine just to make sure that everything's still functional. Also have a cargo bay with a small battery on board. So my goal for this episode is to build a rocket that has enough Delta V to get to almost any stellar body within the solar system, with the Mun as the target destination for, say, a test run. We'll take a command pod, full, so a 3-man command pod. I've already set up the parachutes and the heat shield and also a docking clamp so that I can make it modular. Add a stack separator. That pretty much finishes off our re-entry vehicle. So next we'll move into the orbital vehicle. This will be the rocket that gets us around the solar system. We want to have a fair amount of Delta V in here, aiming for about 3,500. So we want this vehicle to be able to get to space by itself and put itself into a low Kerbin orbit. That will be a good indicator of how well it'll get around the rest of the solar system. So looking for the perfect engine. I'm not entirely familiar with the engines yet. We want something that's fairly economical in a vacuum. Fairly powerful engine. 2,500 Delta V. I might change out that one, perhaps. We'll put a bigger fuel tank in there, I think. Give it a bit more oomph. Some more dinosaurs. Okay, 3,500 Delta V is a perfect amount. Theoretically, this rocket should be able to get into orbit by itself. Won't be able to go anywhere else, but that's a good starting point. So we might save that blueprint. And so that'll become our standard orbital vehicle for now. Next up, we'll add in a stack separator to finalize that stage, and we'll move on to the launch vehicle. So we'll find an adapter that brings us out to a larger fuel tank, from a medium to a large size. Looking good. Add in a large fuel tank. That one seems to be aircraft shaped, perhaps. This one's nice and cylindrical. Okay, probably add in another one of those. This vehicle's expected to get the payload to space, the payload being the orbital vehicle we just built. Now, for the large engine. This one looks like it's good in the vacuum, so it may not be any good for our purposes. This one's got a lot of thrust. I haven't really crunched the numbers, and I don't really want to do the maths. We're just free-balling it, so to speak. So we'll put all 3 different engines out, and we'll have a look at how that affects our launch Delta V. So we've got 7,000. It's a sustainer engine. So theoretically, it's more of a vacuum engine. But like I said, I haven't done the maths yet, and I probably won't for a while. It's definitely an orbital engine, but we'll just have a look and see how that affects. There's no real indicator of thrust to weight. So I've decided to use that second stage there as an orbital vehicle too. This will be the one that gets us into out of Kerbin's orbit and into a trajectory with another stellar body. And we'll use boosters to get the entire vehicle into space. I'll put some solid rocket boosters on there. I used to use mods to help me work out the thruster weight of my launch vehicles. So I hope that is a thing and I've just missed it, or it's something that is added just to make it a little bit easier to plan those longer missions. Okay, we've got our stage separators on for the 4 boosters. Put some aero on the top. Nose cone's not the right shape. That one is. Pop them on. She's a pretty snazzy looking rocket. Though I don't know whether the solid rocket boosters will get her into space by itself. We are fully loaded with fuel for the rest of the launch vehicle. Got some separator rockets on the boost stage to help them fall away from our launch vehicle. We'll head back to the hangar because I'm not entirely happy with that. One of the unwritten rules, or I guess it became part of the Bible of Kerbal Space Program, was if you're ever in doubt about your launch vehicle, is to go back and add more boosters. Now, I wasn't entirely happy that the solid rocket boosters would make it to orbit, so I've gone back and I've redesigned a liquid-fueled booster system, and then we're adding the solid rocket boosters to the outside. I set up the cross feed so that if I needed to use the main engine, it would still have full fuel when we got to orbit. We're playing sandbox mode, so we're not constrained by a budget, and we can just use brute force. Alright, we're good for launch. And I've realized that the staging is not set up super well. That's one of the first mistakes you'll make. And I fired the wrong engine. We've burned out. Okay, I'm not sure what happened there. Staging. Always check it. I had some trouble setting it up. Oh no, we've lost stability. I haven't set up pylons on the inside. Ah, we've lost it. Woo! And we just lost 3 Kerbals, I think. Okay, we've reassessed the stability, and it's still got the wobble. Maybe I have to set up an extra clamp. Oh, we've lost. Yeah, I'm just going to abort this. Everyone, disconnect. And oh no, the rocket's facing downwards. I can't do much now. Kerbal Nauts 6. Oh, we just accelerated him. I've got to write 6 letters home to different Kerbal Nauts families. Okay, we need a lot more struts because I don't like writing letters. Top and bottom. Every rocket connected to something. That UI bug that I've had in the vehicle assembly hangar hasn't let me stage properly. So I have to do it here on the launch pad. Here we go. We have ignition and we have no movement. So the solid boosters are definitely not enough to get us into space. Maybe. Let's see if we can crawl. We're not even moving. Right, so we're going to bring down the liquid boosters. Throttles up for those. Move them up a stage. Oh, no pressure. Rocket's just burning. Everything's just destroyed on the launch pad. I feel like a learner all over again. It's great. Okay. We do have liftoff. Not very fast. We are carrying a lot of weight for no reason, really. Except that it looks cool. And I really wanted to push the limits, maybe, on my first rocket launch. Climbing at a steady pace, but very, very slow. We're halfway on the solid engines. Mainly because we lost a third of their fuel on the launch pad. But we're having no more stability issues, which is fantastic. So we are definitely on our way into a suborbital path at least. Like the tutorial said, we want to get to about 10 kilometers before we start our gravity turn. Still going very slow. At least we won't have any issues with aero on the way up. Very stable. Center of thrust is pretty balanced on this monstrosity of a rocket. Just braking 300 meters per second and 5 kilometers. We're certainly making our way, but it's yet to be seen whether we can actually make it into orbit without the assistance of the launch vehicle as well. That third stage in the center. Okay, so our solid rocket boosters are just about... Oh, I've disconnected them early. And we have had a critical malfunction. Early staging is also a problem. We've got to disconnect off the liquid boosters because they are a threat. We'll drop off the escape capsule. And this time at least, we will make it back to Kerbin with 3 Kerbal knots still alive. Although I don't like the angle that this capsule's coming in at. We need to balance that. Let's have a look and see what it looks like inside. Oh, that was... I clicked the EVA button. I didn't look before I clicked that muscle memory. Okay, we are back with the Mark IV version of our Trip to Mun mission. We haven't even made it into space yet. Maybe I have been over-ambitious. No matter. We'll try and get the staging right this time so we don't waste all that solid rocket fuel like we did last time.
3:28 a.m.
And we are go for launch. 4th time is a magical number, especially when it's preceded by 3 failures. And because we've launched straight away, we have a much better chance of getting to space. Just checking all the parts from the parts manager. This will take some getting used to, but at least you can control everything from a drop-down menu. Once I get used to the part names, or start naming them myself, I think it'll be very easy to use. Let's have a look at the... Let's go back to the mission control and see if this is live. I've always wondered that. Oh, there's our rocket, going straight to space. Excellent. That means that you can turn a rocket at the flight center, or the space center, and watch it crash straight into the headquarters. That might be a mission for another video. A little bit of misalignment there in the booster setup. Maybe that's giving us that slight angle. We've reached the 5 kilometer mark. We've reached that 300 meters per second mark. We have a lot more fuel than we did before. And I will try not to release the staging early. If everything goes perfectly, those boosters should eject away from the body of the main vessel. And we should still have a serious amount of thrust to get us out of the atmosphere. 10 kilometers, we're now taking our gravity turn towards the east. So we get that boost from the planet's rotation. It's a little bit of frame rate loss. My rig is just above the lowest requirements of the game, which are quite hefty. The devs are promising to optimize it for a variety of systems, so we'll see how she goes. At the moment, I'm pretty happy with the performance. This isn't a very complicated rocket, but it does have a few parts to render, so That was another reason why I built something a little bit more complicated. So we're reaching up to 23,000 meters, 800 meters per second. Still going a bit slower than what I would like, and our angle is fairly high, but I'm trying to keep the stability there. So right, we're going to disconnect those boosters. We've had a slight collision and we lost the aero on the front of one of them, but it was a fairly clean separation. Now we have run into our first mission critical issue. I have lost control of the rocket. We have no attitude control. I do have RCS fitted to the rocket, but I don't feel like it's powerful enough, and if we use it now, we won't be able to use it later in the mission. Problem solving, we're going to try and disconnect these liquid boosters, even though they still had some fuel left in them. Minimizing that weight will help the reaction control system flip the rocket around before we reach that critical point on our apoapsis. The main issue that I'm having here is we are actually losing a lot of speed. We still are inside the atmosphere. The atmosphere is up to 100 kilometers. So as a result of that, I am going to probably have to scrub this mission. Unless I can get it around really quick. So we managed to get back on track, but it's a little bit late. We'll hit the thrusters, make sure we're pointing prograde. Now that the thrusters are on, they are giving us a bit more attitude control. I probably should have done that earlier. And so that collision point looks like we're going to crash into the South American equivalent on Kerbal. Perhaps the Asian equivalent, I should say. Try and set up a maneuver plan to see if it's even possible to get out of this predicament. We've got about, I would say, 4 minutes until we have to make our decision to abort. Now I'm at full thrust here and I'm gaining no speed, so this is a mission scrub. We've achieved suborbital flight, but we are definitely not going to make it into orbit. And that would be due to losing control, losing those few precious minutes. Alright, we're making entry now. It is official that this mission is dead. So we're using the thrust to flip the rocket around. We're going to try and get a retrograde burn because we are coming in very fast. Fortunately, the heat dynamics aren't yet rendered into the game. So we are not at real risk of burning up. These boosters are doing nothing to slow us down. So the next emergency action will be to deploy and get rid of this stage away from our ship. And we'll try and use the first stage to try and really slow us down with a retrograde burn. Then we will deploy the life pod. Making sure to stay pointed retrograde as much as possible. Separate that stage. Making sure to stop the engine so it doesn't keep pushing against you. Now we're hitting the full burn, we're dropping our speed a lot. This is a much more powerful engine. And at about 500 meters per second we will drop the capsule. There we go, we are away safely. That rocket is still burning, so it is a threat. It's going to shoot over the top of our head by the look of it. Deploy the chutes. And we have managed to recover a crew, which is the main priority. Personnel are always the main priority, or at least they should be, even if they are Kerbals. Reevaluating that engine dilemma that we just had, we definitely did not have enough power to do what we needed to do, so we're going to get rid of that engine in the center there. Oh no. And see, when you make any rapid change without any thought, it can throw out the whole stability of your rocket. So be mindful. The Mun Tourist Express Mark 6. Can we get there? Third time's a charm times 2, hey? Oh, there we go. We've done that solid rocket booster thing again. It's actually quite a pain not being able to save your staging. But this is early access, and I am still having great fun. And we have a clear liftoff. Another slow ascent. We're not going anywhere in a hurry. But I do enjoy building the super lifters much more than the small rockets. Brute force is my favorite method. Everything is looking nominal. 100 meters per second, cresting that 1,000 meter mark. The atmosphere will start to thin out very shortly, and we'll start to move a little bit faster. Sit back and just enjoy the glorious roar. Ascending to 10,000 meters. We're going slightly faster than we were before because I've been burning that center engine as well, just to give us that little bit of extra thrust to get through the thickest part of the atmosphere. Gently rolling over, a little bit late on the gravity turn. I usually play this game in abject silence, pure concentration. We'll take a nice angle close to the horizon there. We have a fair amount of altitude. Try and raise it up a little bit. We have plenty of delta V, so running out of juice is not an option this time. Getting ready for that booster separation. And setting prograde just to keep the rocket pointed where we need it to go. Getting a bit of a hit on the frames per second. Go. We're going to have a separation any second now. We are moving, so this could be slightly dangerous. We'll wait a little bit until that ceases. Drop them away. Okay, so well, it's never good to have a booster explode, but it didn't do any lasting damage to the rest of our vehicle. Just under 40% or so left remaining in the liquid-fueled rocket boosters. We are at almost 40 kilometers, 80 kilometers, 2,100 meters per second. We are almost at orbital velocity. We just need to get a little bit more altitude, and we are pretty much there. So we will get rid of our liquid boosters. They have done the job, and they will return to Kerbal. Very, very beautiful. One of my favorite things. After all of that chaos of the rocket launch, we have the serenity of space. Now, I've taken a very, very high entry into orbit because I don't intend on circularizing. I intend on shooting straight for the Mun, and we've come up at a very fortuitous angle. Unfortunately, I'm still having the issue with attitude control. We'll have to look at that and add some more reaction control fuel, or perhaps a few gyros to help with the movement. So I'm going to use very, very gentle thrust just to get us on target for our shot out to the Mun. The waypoint planner says that we're going to circularize, but I intend on just over boosting because I'm pretty confident we'll get there in one shot. And we'll go for our shot to the moon, or the Mun, I should say. We have to burn for 2.5 minutes. More than enough delta V. And as our apoapsis gently rises out, hopefully we get an intercept course any second now. Unless I've completely messed this up. Maybe a bit more boost. If we miss the Mun, we'll just go somewhere else. There we go. We have an intercept now. Judging by the sphere of influence, time-lapsing away from Kerbal, we are on our way to the Mun, finally. And as we watch a gentle sunset over the planet there. It makes it worth it. Coming into the intercept, almost into the sphere of influence of the Mun. Once we break in, I will then set up the planner. Now we want to burn just before the periapsis, retrograde, we'll initially come in fairly high angle to the planet, I think. My goal is to get really, really close to the planet. So we'll do one burn just to get captured by the Mun, and then we will plan a second burn, which will bring us much closer, and then probably a third burn. But we'll have to wait and see how effective we are here. So adding the boost there until, there we go, we have an orbit around the Mun, very high angle orbit, because we've come right in the top of the sphere of influence. We should be able to correct that though. So we want to look at the target, SAS on. We're going to have to use our RCS to flip us around in time. So the RCS boosters are now activated. They're only in the nose. And we'll use those until we just have enough momentum, and then we'll swing the rocket around on its own. Switching off the RCS. Coming on to target. We have 14 seconds. We're going to time this fairly well, I think. T-minus 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Burn. And that swings us the rest of the way around. A little bit of inefficiency there. But this rocket has a fair amount of delta V, especially now that we're out of Kerbin's atmosphere. You don't need a terrible amount to get around once you defeat gravity of the home planet. 2 seconds burns, off with the thrusters, and let's have a look at that. The little inefficiency there has made the orbit smaller than planned, but that's okay. Coming up to our second burn, which will bring us nice and close to the Mun. RCS rockets bringing it around, a little bit of thrust. We're a little bit late. We have 9 seconds to get around on target. A little bit of inefficiency again, but that's okay. Burn on, bringing us around fully on target now. Burning for 4 seconds. Cutting thrusters. And we have a nice, very close periapsis. Let's have a look and see the distance. 110 kilometers above. Final burn. Go. Burning for 12 seconds. This will bring us very, very close into what I like to call the tourist orbit. There's no atmosphere to worry about, so we can come in nice and close to the planet. Technically, you could get just above the highest mountain range. And there we have our scenic view of Kerbin from the Mun. Now we have to do a bit of an EVA just to say that we did it. Climb up and down the ladder. I'm a little bit scared to let go. We're a long way from home and I'm not yet used to the jetpack on the Kerbal. So we'll climb back in. Maybe we'll do a hands-free. Let go for a second. Look, Ma, no hands. On again. We'll get him back into the capsule. Uh-oh. Jetpack. There we go. Twist around. There we go. We said we did an EVA. Mission complete. Get back in the hatch. And that completes our first mission. We have enough Delta V to get home. There's a beautiful sunset there over the Mun. In the next video, we'll try and build a rover or some kind of landing vehicle and send out to meet these guys, and then we'll make a landing on the Mun. Well, that concludes our video for today, I think. I hope you've enjoyed this first look at Kerbal Space Program 2. There'll be a lot more to come, so stay tuned to the channel and subscribe if you haven't. Until next time, Commander Tyrael, out.